Hey guys, Distorted Bellfire Absolute Gex here. We're back at it again with another scary story. So, hey, here goes. Never mind. So, today I have a new scary story. Yeah, which introducing Lake Vermilion. And, and I already know this, I already know the title, the description says about a group of friends who see something horrifying when they are camping in the cabin one night. It is based on a supposedly true story that actually happened to a user named mhopped99. Uh, so if you're asking me why I introduced the video like that and the title of the story was actually because the f- I was actually recording this video the first time until it was interrupted by someone calling me until until my dad until my dad called me, and and that's what happened. It interrupted the recording, so it had to stop. So it had to stop on its own, so that the call would happen. So yeah, thanks a lot to my dad because he interrupted the recording. Yeah. So I guess this is what Lake Vermilion looks like. It looks beautiful and invigorating. Yeah. Anyways, so I don't have anything else to say after I read if I read the description, but to get this over with. Also, FYI, don't think my if my channel is like for little kids or something. It is not. So, but if it would be a scarce, then if it would be for a kids channel, then then would little kids be handled with these scary stories or legends or urban legends? I mean, I just said that already. Or riddles that I read and think that little kids can handle can handle it. Well, I don't think so. So yeah, don't think of it as like, don't think of it of the distorted Bellfire, Absolute Dark Gex, a kid show. It's not. Or if you think it's non invert non in non if it's non cool, yeah, and not invigorating in any way. Yeah, it just let's just wanted to find some ways to entertain myself from dying of boredom. But here we go, distortionation. Let's get on with the story. So, and also, yeah, let's get on with the story. So this is Lake Vermilion. Enjoy. The currents rises on the theater of the abyss. The story you are about to read is true and not made up in any way. One of my friends actually suffered a nervous breakdown after the incident and needed to go into counseling. I had three, three really good friends, and their names were Kevin, me, Ryan, and Tommy. Every summer, our parents would take us on vacation. We always stayed in a remote cabin in the forest of Minnesota. The cabin was located on a large island in the middle of Lake Vermilion. Eventually, we were old enough. Our parents let us go to the cabin on our own for the first time. When we got there, we parked the car on a gravel road beside the lake. Then we had to take a boat across the lake about a half mile to reach the cabin. There were a few other cabins on the island, but they were all at least half mile away. The cabin was quite small and it only had a kitchen, a bathroom, and two bedrooms. At night, it was pitch black. There were no street lights for miles, and and the only light came from the moon. There were no cabins. There were no curtains on the windows. So when you were sleeping at night, you could see the moon shining on down on the trees and the lake outside. On the third night of our trip, we set up we set up a campfire by the edge of the lake. The moon was full and the pale white glow was shimmering across the lake. We were gazing up at the stars when all of a sudden we heard a splashing sound as if something was moving about on the water. Ryan suddenly stood up and pointed, saying, "What the hell is that?" Hold on. Sorry guys. Sorry guys. We all looked in the direction he was pointing, peering into the darkness. After a while, we could make out what he was pointing at. I'll never forget the feeling of terror that came over me. The hair on my the hair on the back of my neck stood up and goosebumps appeared in my arms. I was paralyzed with fear. Out out in the middle of the lake, there was a woman's head. It was just floating there on the surface of the water, staring directly at us. She had pale white skin and long black hair that was matted across her face. The rest of her was submerged, not was submerged or not even there. We tried to tell ourselves that it was just a loon. They're black and it was just a loon. They're black and they're black and white birds that hunt at night, diving deep into the water. It didn't look like a loon, but that's what we tried to convince ourselves it was. We threw some we threw some more wood on the fire and tried to forget about it, but it still gave me the creeps. About half an hour, I had to go to the bathroom, so I walked down to the edge of the dock and peed on the lake, looking out over the moonlit lake. Lake. I noticed the thing was still there, but now it was much closer. It still looked like a woman's head, and it seemed to be staring right at me. Its face was still completely pale, as if it hadn't been out in the sun for years, and I could easily make out some facial features, the eyes and the nose, the eyes and the nose. Sorry guys, I'm gonna have to refresh. Hold on. Okay. Sorry guys. Sorry guys. Onward. A feeling of incredible unease came over me as I realized it couldn't be a loon. There was no way a loon could tread water for that for that length of time. There were no ripples around it either. It wasn't moving at all. It was just standing there, stiff as a board, submerged in the water. I immediately zipped up my pants and ran back up the dock to where my friends were sitting around the campfire. I told them what I had seen, but none of them dared to go down the dock to take a closer look. We tried to towel ourselves. It was just a log or a tree branch jutting out of the water. We could tell everyone else everyone else felt uneasy too. None of us really believed that. We went back into the cabin and shut the door, locking it behind us. It was very late and we needed to sleep. None of us mentioned the thing in the lake. We were all trying to avoid talking about it. There were no cabin. Why do I why do I keep saying cabin? There were no curtains on the windows, and as I was getting ready for bed, I couldn't help taking one last look. Peering out the wood window, I could see the lake clearly, illuminated by the full moon, but the thing wasn't there anymore. It had completely vanished. I let out a sigh of relief, thinking the log must have floated away or else it just sank below the surface. Or perhaps it had been a loon after all and had finally flown away. It was very hot that night, and we had to sleep with the windows open. My friend Tommy and I slept in one bedroom, and my two other friends, Kevin and Ryan, slept in the other bedroom. We we left our bedroom doors open. I was finding it hard to sleep. It was the middle of summer, and there wasn't even a slight breeze. The heat was stifling. As I later, as I later, I thought I could hear someone walking around outside the cabin. I kept I kept my eyes tightly shut and tried to tell myself it was just my imagination. It sounded like someone with bare. It sounded like someone white with bare, bare, wet feet, pacing back and forth. I was trembling with fear, but I felt no weak. I couldn't move. The footsteps sounded like they were walking up the steps to the cabin door. I wanted to shout out to my friends, but I was frozen in terror. Then the footsteps turned around and sounded like they were running down the steps and towards the lake. After a while, the footsteps faded away and there was only silence. Reached over and shook my head. Tommy, shook my friend Tommy. He was already awake and he claimed that he had heard the footsteps as well. Just then, I was startled to see come running into the room. When he stepped into the moonlight, I could see his face and the expression on it was very disturbing. "We need to leave," he croaked. "Why?" I asked. "What do you hear?" "Let's just go," he insisted. "Let's get in. Let's get to the boat. It's time to go." He wouldn't answer. He just ran back into his room. We followed him and found Kevin sitting on his bed, already packing up his things. Ryan was running around, frantically grabbing his stuff and stuffing it into a bag. "What's wrong?" I demanded. "Ryan, what the hell is wrong with you? Tell us." He just stopped in his tracks and stared at me. There was a haunted look in his eyes. I will never forget what he said. He told us he was turning over in his bed to get more comfortable when he suddenly saw at the top right corner of his window someone was peeking in. As soon as he set eyes on it, the face vanished. He said all he saw was long black hair hanging down the window, ghostly white skin, and one large eye staring at him. When he said that, it chilled us to the bone. We realized that the face was in the top right corner of the window. That meant the thing had to be damn near 8 feet tall, or else floating in midair. I felt like I was going to be sick. Let's just go," Ryan said in a very serious tone. "Let's just go now." We all agreed and packed our stuff as quickly as we could. We grabbed our things and ran out of the cabin. Obviously, only causing only to lock the door behind us. As we scrambled down the front steps, I glanced to the side and saw footprints, bare wet footprints in the dirt all around the cabin. Man, this is getting creepy. We ran down to the we ran down to the boat and threw our stuff in. We untied the boat from the dock and sped off. I looked back over my shoulder and stared at the island, but I didn't see anything moving. However, I had the strangest feeling that someone or something was watching us. When we finally reached the other side of the lake, we tied up the boat, stuffed our backpacks in the car, and drove off. We had been driving for about 10 minutes when, out of the blue, Ryan suddenly broke down sobbing. He kept saying over and over, "What was it, guys? Oh, God, what did I see?" On the way, we called our parents to tell them what had happened. Brian was, I mean, Brian. Ryan was freaking out, and we didn't know what to do. They told us to just get home safely and quickly. My friend's dad went up to the cabin a few days later and said he saw nothing out of the ordinary. However, he did mention that there were bare, wet footprints all around the cabin, which he thought was odd. Whatever, whatever Ryan saw in the window really hit him hard. After his breakdown, he had trouble sleeping and ended up having to go into therapy. They gave him some pills to calm him down and allow him to get a decent night's sleep. As time went on, he recovered and ended up being fine. But to this day, he still can't sleep unless the curtains on his window are completely shut. To this day, I cannot explain what he saw. I mean, to this day, I still cannot explain what we saw in the lake that night. I never went back to the cabin. Tommy and Kevin have both gone back and everything was fine, but Ryan refuses to go back, and frankly, I'm with him. Oh my, oh my God. Oh my God. Now that now it really is a true scary story. I could while and whilst I was reading the story, I could even picture like describing what this user mhop99 went through, and could describe and to describe of what his friend Ryan had seen, which made him to never forget that day. I bet that even in this, I bet, I bet that, I bet that for this summer 2024, yeah, the summer of 2024, this user had decided to never go back to the cabin for this summer. Like, like they're bound, like they'll bound to never go back there ever again. Well, that was really scary and creepy. But all right, guys. So that was a true scary story of white. So that was a true scary story of Lake Vermilion. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next scary story or riddle or an urban legend or etc. But overall, this story was really invigorating and envious. Thank you so much. But thank you so much for watching this video. But until then, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Peace. The curtain falls on the theater of the abyss.